Just now, the veil of silence surrounding the British royal family has been torn apart, not by an official statement, but by a fierce backlash behind the scenes. When the door to return slammed shut, what erupted wasn't regret, but a fury that stunned many within the family. Harry and Meghan are said to have completely lost control upon realizing there was no honorable return as they had once believed. The media said very little, but what is circulating behind the palace gates tells a completely different story of wounded egos, denied power, and a reality they never anticipated. Before we delve into the details the royal family doesn't want to publicize, please subscribe, like, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the unfolding events. And ask yourself this. When you turn your back on the royal family, is the royal family obligated to open its doors to welcome you back? Leave a comment. I read every single one. Now then, let's dissect what's really going on behind this anger. Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, the heir apparent to the British throne, who once wore a Nazi uniform to a party and dismissed it as a joke, is now portraying himself as a victim. But not just any victim. He's cultivating the image of a persecuted truth-teller, someone simply wanting to serve his country once more. He calls it the half-in, half-out model. What do I call it? Wanting both the cake and the cake. And remarkably, in Harry's mind, this illusion doesn't seem to have been completely extinguished, as he believes his father, King Charles, might change his mind. As far as we know, this week US Weekly published a shocking cover article. In it, Harry and his remaining allies, and this circle is shrinking, have outlined his dream scenario, returning to royal duties but only on a part-time basis, keeping his Montecito mansion, continuing his Netflix contracts, and continuing to appear in the media to criticize the very institution he now claims to want to serve. At the same time, he still wants the prestige, influence, and security protection funded by taxpayers' money. All the perks that come with being a working member of the royal family. It's extraordinary when you stop and think about it. Even more remarkably, as part of what he calls a concession to his father, Harry has pledged not to pursue any further legal action against the British press, as if suing all British media were a given, and now he is generously agreeing to stop if allowed to return to the family business. That boldness is truly astonishing. But those close to the royal family, those who truly understand the workings of the monarchy, argue that it is this offer to assist with royal duties that is most worrying, because it shows Harry has never given up his half-involved, half-retired dream. This is the very model that Queen Elizabeth II flatly rejected in 2020 with the clear message: either you participate or you don't. You can't be a member of the royal family working a few days a week and then spend the rest of your time signing contracts with streaming platforms and giving interviews that speak ill of your own family. We've seen this before. Harry has presented himself as a royal reserve, ready to step in when needed, and that only causes deep anxiety within the palace. Because the last thing Prince William and the institution need is any revival of that half-hearted model, a dangerous precedent that could erode the very fabric of the monarchy. This kite flying, as experts call it, opens up a worrying possibility. Harry genuinely believes his father might change his mind, despite the Oprah interview, despite the Netflix documentary series, despite the book Spare where family disputes, private conversations, and intimate details that should never have been made public are laid bare. And despite all that, he still believed he could return. The personal price he paid gradually became apparent. According to close friends, Harry missed the structure, the hierarchy, and the sense of meaning that royal life once offered, even while still attached to life in California with Meghan and their children. But the contradiction lies in the fact that he wanted structure, but not responsibility, hierarchy, but only if it benefited him, meaning but unwilling to do the work that came with it. And let me say it straight, with careful choice of words. This is a manifestation of delusion, the behavior of a man acting like an immature teenager, throwing tantrums, refusing to listen, even when his father has made it perfectly clear that this will never happen. There are many layers of conflicting issues at play in this story, and if you only look at the surface, you will miss the most important thing. This isn't simply a family feud. This is a power struggle where emotions, royal politics, and the media collide dangerously. King Charles stands on a crossroads no father wants to cross. On one side is the throne, his responsibility to the institution. On the other is his own son. And no matter what the world thinks, the truth is, he still loves Harry. What father doesn't love his son? But that very love complicates things. Because Charles understands one thing very well. One wrong word in public, and this battle will reignite, more fiercely, more expensively, and uncontrollably. And this is the crucial point. For Harry and Meghan, attention is the fuel. Media, drama, the victim. These aren't side effects, they're lifeblood. Every statement, every rumor of wanting to return, every tear leaked through the friendly press, it's all calculated. Harry learned very quickly how to operate this game. He didn't need to speak directly, just sow the signal. The media would do the rest. They turned desire into reality, silence into coldness, and King Charles, William, and Catherine into obstacles to reconciliation. It was a sophisticated manipulation, admittedly, but once you see the pattern, it becomes disturbingly naked. Mainstream media no longer report it. They perpetuate illusions, legitimizing stories that have never been verified. And then we enter the most dangerous chapter. This week, Harry will return to England, not for reconciliation, but to court. A trial could become a visual disaster for the entire British royal family. A member fifth in line to the throne, sitting under oath for hours, publicly questioned about allegations against the press. The context here is extremely important. Harry has sued numerous media corporations. Some cases have historical basis. Yes, wiretapping scandals have occurred before. But the issue is how Harry behaves when the truth begins to emerge. In the previous case, when the trial was about to begin, when witnesses were ready, when everything was about to be revealed, Harry suddenly reached a last-minute agreement. The judge was furious. The court's time and money were wasted, and the public never heard the whole truth. So what about this time? Will this be a real trial? Or just another gamble, where Harry shows up, exerts media pressure, then retreats with a victory statement read aloud in front of the cameras? We don't have the answer yet. But one thing is certain, all eyes are on this week. And what happens could completely change the landscape, not just for Harry, but for the entire British royal family. Associated Newspapers, the group that owns the Daily Mail and Mail on Sunday, has taken a firm stance. There is no settlement. They reject all allegations, stating unequivocally that the other side is distorting the truth. According to them, there was no secret settlement, no wrongdoing, and they are fully prepared to face any questions in court. And if this is true, if no last-minute agreement emerges, then we are on the verge of a moment that could go down in modern royal history. This coming Thursday, Prince Harry is expected to take the witness stand and answer questions all day long before lawyers representing the Daily Mail. Let's pause for a moment and consider the implications of this. This is a man whose past is intertwined with controversial accounts, where the line between personal memory and recorded truth is frequently blurred. The book Spare is full of contradictory details. The interviews over the years have been inconsistent, and in many cases, what Harry claims completely contradicts the documents, evidence, or testimony of others. Now, all those contradictions will no longer be shielded by emotion or friendly media. Under oath, before lawyers who have prepared meticulously for months, every detail will be scrutinized. Every old statement will be revisited. Every questionable assertion will be compared. The risk of a public image disaster is very real, and it is far greater than the public imagines. Because if Harry lies under oath, it's no longer a matter of reputation. It's perjury, a criminal offense. And the consequences of that will not only fall on him personally, but will also drag the British royal family into an unprecedented situation. Imagine the headlines appearing all over the world. Prince accused of perjury in court. That would be a blow unprecedented in the modern royal era. Even in a milder scenario, where Harry doesn't blatantly lie, but merely contradicts himself, stumbles, or is caught saying inconsistencies, the damage would still be immense. His entire post-royal image is built on a single pillar: someone who dares to speak the truth, someone who stands up against the powerful media. If that facade crumbles right there on the witness stand, what will he be left with? But it doesn't stop there. The reality is far more worrying. In recent days, this case has gone far beyond a typical lawsuit between Harry and the Daily Mail. It's beginning to reveal darker undercurrents, accusations aimed directly at Harry's legal team. His lawyers are now facing extremely serious charges: dishonesty, fraud, and even conspiracy to manipulate evidence. These weren't minor technical disputes. These allegations went straight to the heart of the case, calling out the integrity of everything that had been presented to the court. Tensions escalated when a key witness, Gavin Burrows, who had previously sided with Harry, unexpectedly retracted his testimony. Burrows claimed that his signature on a crucial affidavit had been forged. He believed there had been a blatant attempt to intimidate and coerce him just before the trial. Burrows is now requesting to testify remotely from a secret location due to concerns for his personal safety. His lawyer told the court that Burrows had been approached by an organization calling itself Byline Times. And this is where the story becomes particularly disturbing. Byline Times is not a neutral name. They were accused of engaging in pressure campaigns, threatening witnesses, and attempting to silence voices critical of Harry and Meghan. They were also alleged to have sought to discredit journalists who reported unfavorably on the Sussexes. And that's the organization that's featured in this picture. Harry continued, and there's another name, another link, that you absolutely must know. Graham Johnson, a name that should make anyone stop and think. He's a convicted phone hacker, a former News of the World reporter, exactly the kind of person Prince Harry claims to be up against. Yet, ironically, Johnson is at the heart of this story. Currently, Johnson has close ties to Hacked Off, an anti-journalism advocacy group, and, according to multiple sources, he worked for the research team that served Harry's legal team. Let that sink in for a moment. A convicted phone hacker is being used to gather evidence in a lawsuit against the accusation of phone hacking. If that's not alarming, it's at least a bitterly unbelievable paradox. But the story doesn't end there. Jonathan Rhee, a former private investigator who claimed to have planted listening devices in the home of Doreen Lawrence, mother of the murdered teenager Stephen Lawrence, has now publicly denied key parts of his own previous testimony. The result? We have suspected forged signatures. We have retracted testimony. We have serious offenders used as investigators. And we have allegations of witness intimidation. This is the foundation of the lawsuit Harry is betting his entire reputation on. The deeper you dig, the darker the picture becomes. Graham Johnson, who played a key role in gathering evidence, is said to have paid Gavin Burrows a fixed fee of £5,000 a month, not including expenses, to find witnesses. Burrows then hired Jonathan Rhee, and from the intertwined relationships of these three individuals with controversial pasts, an explosive narrative of wiretapping and hacking involving Doreen Lawrence emerged. That story then leads straight to Prince Harry, who persuaded Lawrence to join a large-scale lawsuit, along with Elton John, David Furnish, former Justice Secretary Simon Hughes, Liz Hurley, and Sadie Frost. Do you see the pattern forming here? Alliances built not on a foundation of integrity, but on vengeful emotions and personal motives. Harry makes no secret of his ambitions. He wants to break down the British press, or at least those that dare to criticize him. He has openly stated that he wants people like Piers Morgan to go to jail. He wants police investigations reopened. This is no longer a story about justice. This is revenge disguised in morality. What truly chills me is this. Harry portrays himself as a modern-day knight, fighting for truth, for the voiceless, against toxic media. But the reality we're seeing is witness intimidation, false testimony, forged signatures, and convicted criminals being brought forward as key witnesses. By many standards, some of this is more disturbing than the very charges he claims to be fighting. The level of hypocrisy is truly shocking. Meanwhile, on the other side of the picture, the royal family is doing what they always do, quietly and persistently. This week, Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, appeared not in controversy, but in work. William was spotted at a farm, wearing a baseball cap, tending plants, chatting with farmers, listening to the very real struggles of the farming community. No stage, No dramatic pronouncements, no complaints, just responsibility. Catherine, meanwhile, brought solemnity to Windsor Castle as she hosted the England women's rugby team, the Red Roses, World Cup champions. She drove herself to the castle, umbrella in hand, wearing an Alexander McQueen suit, walking with calm confidence, an image many observers have called iconic. She congratulated the team, chatted about sports, and shared the very ordinary joy of her children's love of rugby. George and Louis playing at school, Charlotte eagerly awaiting her birthday. These are the moments that define royalty, using their position to uplift others, to celebrate effort, to connect. William and Catherine understood that role. They represented the nation, the institution, on the global stage, and they did so through work, not through fanfare. While one side prepared to face questions about shady dealings, questionable witnesses, and controversial documents, the other stood in the midst of the community, addressing real issues, real people, real lives. That contrast, clear, cold, and undeniable. While Harry continues to issue legal threats and demand a public apology, Catherine is doing the exact opposite, celebrating athletes, inspiring the younger generation with sport, and fostering a healthy passion for the sport in her own children. One side builds value, the other erodes it. And the British people see this very clearly. They are not naive. They are all too familiar with the repeated victim narratives, the cleverly staged dramas, and the endless emotional manipulation. Those who truly believe in the monarchy do not see Harry's potential return as a threat to William and Catherine. On the contrary, they see it as a sad illusion, a futile idea of someone who made a choice on their own, then discovered the price was too high, but is too proud to admit their mistake. There is another detail that is also worth considering. Harry called the decision to not continue suing the media a huge concession. But let's be realistic. How many media outlets are left for him to sue? He's already dragged the vast majority of major newspapers into court. Turning this exhaustion of options into a noble gesture of reconciliation is truly laughable. And above all, those legal battles now have almost no effect on the royal family. They don't damage the institution. They only continue to erode Harry's own image. His credibility in Britain has suffered a serious blow. The public no longer believes his story. The royal family, by its very existence, has proven that it has never depended on Harry or Meghan. The reality is simple. Meghan spends more time on a single royal tour than on the brief time she serves as a member of the royal family. Harry, after leaving the military around 2014 to 2015, only held that role fully for less than 2 years. Historically, they were just a small chapter, and one that quickly closed. Worse still, in that brief period, they single-handedly destroyed almost all of the public goodwill they had received. Today, most people no longer see them as members of the royal family. They are seen as American celebrities, incidentally carrying noble titles. Meanwhile, William and Catherine, King Charles, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh continue their work, quietly, persistently, without needing to react to Harry and Meghan's every move, simply because they are no longer important to the institution. However, it would be a mistake to underestimate the risks ahead. This coming Thursday could be a dangerous turning point for Harry. However, the royal family did not want him to publicly destroy himself. They understood his limitations, the fragility of his judgment and perception. And above all, he was still the king's son, still in the line of succession. Therefore, the royal family was acutely aware of the potential danger to the institution if things spiraled out of control. That is why William and Catherine reportedly hired top crisis management PR experts. Stop and think about it. The future king and queen of England had to prepare for a crisis, not because of an external enemy, but because of what Harry might say or do. There were rumors of conspiracies against the Sussexes, but the truth is much simpler. This wasn't an attack. This was an institution defending itself against an individual who had repeatedly demonstrated a willingness to harm it for personal gain. Next week is crucial. Will Harry be able to withstand a stressful day of questioning? Can he maintain his testimony without contradicting himself? Because one wrong word, one inconsistency, and he'll face charges of perjury, and the entire story he's built over years will crumble. And if that happens, the price won't just be his personal reputation. It risks damaging the entire British royal family, all because of a personal vendetta that refuses to let go. The stark truth is this: Harry is pushing himself to the brink. He's playing an extremely dangerous game, surrounded by notorious figures, staking his reputation on a lawsuit built on fragile foundations. In his mind, this is a righteous fight, a noble mission. But in reality, the wall is closing. Witnesses who once stood by him are beginning to back down. Testimonies once considered crucial are now faltering. Accusations leveled against his own legal team are becoming increasingly serious. And the door to a backroom deal, his familiar escape route, is slamming shut. By Thursday, there will be nowhere to hide. Harry will have to stand before the court, under oath, and defend every word he's said, every accusation he's made, every piece of evidence he's relied on for years. No Netflix stage, no staged interviews, just questions and answers. I will be watching closely, and so should you, because what happens in that courtroom is not just a confrontation between an individual and a newspaper. It's a test of a prince's credibility. It directly touches the stability of an institution that has existed for hundreds of years. And more profoundly, it raises an uncomfortable question that many try to avoid. Can a person openly wage war against their own family, turn their back on their country, ally with those with criminal pasts and controversial figures, and still expect to be welcomed back as if nothing ever happened? The answer, in my opinion, is becoming increasingly clear. And it's not the answer Harry wants to hear. This is why you need to continue following this channel. We will update you on every development, every turning point, every detail that the mainstream media either deliberately ignores or distorts to their advantage. If you haven't already, do so now. Turn on notifications. Share this video with anyone who needs to understand what's really going on behind the glitz and glamour. And I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What do you think will happen on Thursday? Will Harry stand up to a grueling day of questioning? Will there be a last-minute deal to avoid the worst? Or will the entire case, and the narrative he's built, collapse right before the public eye? The coming days will be decisive for the British royal family. This drama is far from over. In fact, it's quite possible it's only just entering its most dramatic phase. And unlike vague dreams of a royal return, what's about to unfold isn't an illusion. It's reality. The truth. And you won't want to miss it.